After a near 3-month refurbishment, the Indiana Jones Adventure ride finally has reopened at the Disneyland Resort. To my and many other people's surprise, multiple things in the attraction have been changed, fixed, or even improved. Honestly, this could probably be one of the best refurbs we ever got for the Indiana Jones ride, at least within the last 10 years. So what exactly did the Imagineers do? Let's start off with the queue. On Twitter, I pointed out that I only saw 2 major changes. First, the outdoor generator was slowed down even further, and second, the wooden planks leading up to the temple were replaced. There were also a few other things I didn't immediately pick up on until later, most notably the new props that were added onto the Indiana Jones movie truck, as well as the updated lighting throughout the temple. The props inside of the truck have been either replaced or repositioned. What was once random cargo and supplies has been switched out with what looks to be a little work area for Indiana Jones. They also added spare tires, gas tanks, and Indy's hat on a stool. As for the lighting inside the temple, it looks like they changed the reddish-yellow light bulbs to a more regular white color. Naturally, this makes the queue a lot brighter. Many areas that were once very hard to see, like this wall of text on the first hallway, is now much more visible compared to before. One, I guess you could say, negative thing I've noticed with this change was that the flickering light effect was removed entirely. Previously, the lights would flicker every 5 or so seconds regardless of where you were in the temple. If I'm being totally honest though, it possibly could be a technical glitch, since past the spike room, the lights still have the flickering effect. Then again, this was filmed 3 days after the ride opened, so I'm not too sure if this was intentional or more of an accident. Everything else in the queue has stayed relatively the same, at least from what I can tell. Moving on to the ride experience, we immediately see changes in the Chamber of Destiny. Previously, the projection mapping lighting was very uneven. The doors you would enter through would be incredibly bright, while the other 2 doors on the sides were very dark, making it very hard to see what your other choices would have been, as well as the dummy tracks on the ground. Post-refurb, however, all the doors are now evenly lit. Improvements were also made in the chamber with Mara. Now, the original plan was to look through all the different chambers and make comparisons on what exactly changed for each. Unfortunately, I was only able to get a good recording of the Fountain of Eternal Youth, so because of that, we'll only be looking at that room. The first major change inside the Fountain of Eternal Youth is that they finally added color and definition back into the murals along the sides. Previously, these murals were painted with the same color as the room, making them essentially blend into the surrounding walls. The color scheme has also been updated. Instead of only light blue, the room now uses a mix of both light blue and violet lighting. Additionally, the projection mapping on Mara has been slightly updated as well. The snakes around Mara's hands are now lit throughout the entire animation, whereas before they were only lit for a few seconds then went dark. This allows guests to see more details of the statue that were previously too dark to see. As the guests are lifted upwards and thrown towards the gates of doom, they are now met with a new effect pulsing behind the gates trying to escape. Previously, there was this brightly colored curtain that used to spin fast behind the doors. It was kinda cool, when it worked like 5 years ago. However, during the refurbishment, the spinning curtain effect was replaced by projections and now depicts what looks to be a spiritual energy trying to push its way out of the gates of doom. Believe it or not, this new effect actually slightly alters the story of the attraction. I'll come back to that a little later on in the video. The staircase and skeleton room, at least from what I can tell, apart from maybe some minor touch-ups here and there, look to be exactly the same. As for the bug room, there doesn't seem to be any noticeable changes outside of the fact that the second bug projector seems to be disabled. Disney could potentially be adding something new here, however, I honestly think they possibly turned it off since that projector has always been problematic. It was either too dim for guests to see or just spun around uncontrollably. The ropes on the bridge still haven't been fixed, however, I've been told that it's less of a money issue and it's more of an issue with OSHA. Basically, OSHA doesn't want maintenance crews to fix something while dangling over a 30-foot pit. Honestly, understandable. In the snake room, it looks like the lighting has been slightly changed during the refurb. Previously, the room had a lot more green lighting, but it seems like that green lighting has been toned down significantly. And then there's this part. I'm sure everyone knows what's changed here. Fluffy the animatronic, after nearly 2 years of being MIA, has finally been reinstalled back into the ride. Absolutely spectacular. Inside of the skull room behind the collapsed face of Mara, we can see that the very convincing, totally not a painting on a scrim, spirit of Mara has been repainted. The colors and eyes pre-refurb were fading away really badly, making the details really hard to see, even for my low light camera. The new paint job, however, does a really good job at bringing out those new colors. They also gave Mara the anime treatment, making the eyes on the new painting twice as big. Mara is now officially best waifu. The lava pit mist, as well as the visible safety railing, which is usually supposed to be retracted, are still broken, or should I say disabled. I've had many people email me and leave comments on my second channel's video, The Terrible State of the Indiana Jones Ride. It's a little outdated, but you should definitely check it out whenever you have the time. Many people have told me that the mist effect was intentionally turned off for cast member safety, since it was causing mold to form all throughout the pit. As the vehicle lurches underneath the bridge, it barely dodges a laser from Mara and scurries into a dark cave. This is where we see the new projection mapping effects, where spiritual energies try to attack the vehicle. Previously, this area was just a dark tunnel, with the only visible thing being the lightly illuminated vines. A great change, at least in my opinion. As the spiritual energies try to attack the vehicle, the car suddenly stalls and lurches to a stop, causing the spirits to overshoot their target. As the car restarts its engine and roars back to life, it rounds the corner where we see the previous spiritual energy ripping apart what used to be a hallway. Previously, this area used to be the infamous rat on a branch effect, where the vehicle would plow its way through a very obvious projection on smoke. The old projection effects, along with the sounds of rats and the vehicle plowing through the branch, have all been removed. Where the projector for the rat branch used to be is now where the new projection mapping effects is for the hallway. Earlier on in the video, I said that these new projection effects alter the story of the ride. Now you might be asking yourself, how exactly does a few glowing balls of light alter the story of an attraction? The short answer to that is that it adds extra layers of believability and world building to the ride. Before the 3-month refurbishment, I was always puzzled about a certain story element of the attraction. After Indy saves you by closing the gates of doom, what's the reason for going fast? Now I understand that it's a ride and the speed is what makes it fun, but story-wise it never really made sense. What's the point of flooring the vehicle and nearly slamming into every wall or flying off the edge of a cliff when the main threat, the Gates of Doom and Mara, are well behind us? Pre-refurb, honestly there was no answer to that, and back then I was perfectly fine with that answer. The ride was fun and exciting, so I didn't really mind seeing some plot holes here or there. However, post-refurb, that minor plot hole is no longer a plot hole. Since the spiritual energy behind the Gates of Doom are similar to those we see in the new projection mapping scene, it's safe to say that these aggressive spirits are the same ones that were trapped behind the Gates of Doom. Story-wise, when Indiana Jones left the Gates of Doom, which he had to have done at some point since he's dangling above us at the end of the ride at the Boulder Room, the spirits took this opportunity to fly out and immediately start chasing us throughout the temple, only to catch up and barely miss us in the dark corridor. That means if we were moving any slower than we were, we would have ended up exactly like this hallway. Again, this adds an extra layer of storytelling and world building to the attraction that we have never seen before. It's an amazing change. If I had to criticize something about this change, it would be about the fact that the electrical energy isn't really conveyed that well. When I first saw the projection mapping effects, I honestly thought that the hallway collapsing was some sort of booby trap or something. It wasn't until I analyzed my footage later on was when I realized that the spectral energy was causing the hallway to collapse. If I wasn't able to understand immediately what's going on, there's a big chance that there's dozens of other people out there as well who have no idea what they're looking at. I think if they had an extra projection mapping effect of the energy rounding the corner in front of the vehicle towards the out of sight hallway, it would make it a lot easier for guests to understand what's happening. In its current state, it almost feels like the two new scenes we got are two separate events happening instead of one. Again, it's only a minor criticism. Before we move on, I just really want to quickly touch on the projection mapping effects of the hallway collapsing. Now, the way how this effect is done is actually really smart. They have a projection screen in the back surrounded by practical walls. Then in front of those walls, as well as the projection screen, they have more practical sets combined with a scrim which has projections of both flames and the electrical spirits. Now, this type of practical and digital layering is stuff we don't typically see from Disney. The only other time I've seen this is in Navi River Journey, as well as the pre-show for Cosmic Rewind. The layering effect is actually something we see more from Universal, and it's one of the reasons why their screen rides feel so much more lifelike compared to Disney's. It's really crazy to me how much Disney Imagineering has improved their technology on projection mapping over the last few years. Like, they used to be incredibly bad at this technology. By far the worst example, or the best example of this, would be Pirates of the Caribbean at Shanghai Disneyland. The ride had really great projection mapping effects and had really beautiful practical sets. However, when Disney tried to marry these two together, they created giant gaps of blackness and in general just didn't look right. If this collapsing projection mapping effect is what Disney is capable of doing today, I'm really excited to see what they're able to do to the parks in the coming future. Entering into the Boater Room, we can see Disney added new lighting into the scene. Previously, the scene had more natural white lighting, however, after the refurb, the lighting has gone back to a more intense purple and red color. The moving walls and boater effects are now fully functional, compared to before where they would only have limited movement. That's basically all the changes I saw on the ride. If you saw anything else in the ride that I didn't catch, let me know in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like. I have a Twitter, @lmgvids, as well as a Discord, which I'm fairly active on, both of which you can find down below. We're also on Instagram and TikTok.